Hello and welcome to the Big Three podcast with Adarsh and Adam. In this podcast, me and Adam take you through all things cricket. The second week of the Champions Trophy has concluded, and the semi-finals slots are now booked. And the semi-finalists are India, Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand in that order. The first semi-final is in Dubai in the fourth on the 4th of March, and then the next day is the second semi-final. So we've got a lot of games to unpack right now. The first game which we'll talk about or at least touch upon because there's not much to say there. Bangladesh versus New Zealand was the game which happened after our last podcast, and well, it happened along expected lines, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that game was kind of went as we kind of thought. New Zealand were always going to be a bit too strong for Bangladesh. Bangladesh did put up a bit of a fight, and they got some early wickets, which made it slightly interesting. I kind of always knew New Zealand would win. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the game. I had no
Mm.
hope, and I didn't want to jeopardize my
Yeah,
physics exam watching that game. So
yeah,
yeah, no hope there. But Bangladesh lost all three of their games, right?
yeah.
No,
One was rained off,
one was
wasn't it?
rained
One
off.
was
Yeah,
rained off.
one was
Mm.
rained off. I mean, Pakistan came out bottom of their group. I mean, that's got to be tough, right? Playing
Yeah,
a tournament in your home country after 28, 20, 30 years and getting out
mm.
first, bottom of your group, just got to be tough. Next game, Australia, South Africa.
Yeah,
The game I predicted to be the best game of the tournament, and that just got washed off. So, I mean, yeah, that's a bummer. Then we got
yeah,
Afghanistan versus England. Now I had been backing Afghanistan right from the start,
yeah,
and you were backing England, so that's me
yeah.
one upping you there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I did say it was the only game England would win. It wasn't like I was saying England were amazing or anything,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. True. Yeah.
yeah, I think what we said, Afghanistan do rely on batting first, posting a total, and their openers getting runs, and one of the openers did. Um, they, England had a great start. They got Afghanistan 30 odd for three, and then the fact that they haven't got any variety in their attack, and their fifth bowler is just a mixture of Livingston and Root. Overton was the fourth bowler, so that is a really poor attack in international cricket. That's almost like the fourth and fifth bowler is almost like an associate nations fourth or fifth bowler, and it's never going to bowl anyone out. And then despite that, they still could have chased those runs. Root got an exceptional 100. And even Jamie
T25 was very
Overton.
chaseable on that pitch.
Yeah, it was. It was. It wasn't like one of those turners that England struggle on, but they just didn't manage it in the end. Um, and yeah, credit to Afghanistan, who I think of teams that when teams become a full member, it takes a while for them to transition. But given the fact that Afghanistan don't even get to play at home anymore, or maybe not even ever, they've done exceptionally well. The best new country since Sri Lanka, I think.
True. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely agree with that. I mean, best country ever. No country has had such a quick rise in cricket, I'd say. Maybe England and
Definitely.
Australia, but they were the ones who started cricket. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
Afghanistan.
it's a bit different.
Yeah, Afghanistan has to beat. And what did you make of Ibrahim Zadran's innings? Because like obviously everyone's talked about him, but starting
Mm.
off, I felt like I was talking about him at the start of the tournament that for Afghanistan to win the tournament, one of their openers has to score a century and they have to bat first, and there
Yeah,
has to be no dew in the second innings. And I think
yeah,
all of that came true, and everything kind of aligned for Afghanistan to win the game. But even then, I think Ibrahim's innings to score 170 and hold the innings together and
mm.
then completely unleash at the end with who was it, Azmatullah. That is the template you play an ODI, not all guns blazing throughout the 50 overs to get bowled out for 120.
Definitely. He did so well to change the tempo and then cash in at the end. That's what people used to do. It, very intelligent cricket. I think Wood went off at the end with an injury, didn't he? I think maybe he was 2 overs short, and they had to bring back some of the fifth bowlers like
Root was
Livingston
bowling
and
the
Root.
47th over.
Yeah, yeah, that's not ideal. But that's what happens when you only go in with four bowlers. I mean, that's a shortcoming on McCollum's behalf. So England can't complain. You go in with four bowlers, two of which are injury prone, like Wood and Archer, and these things can happen. It's not a surprise. Wood gets injured; he gets injured all the time. So I don't think they can really say they're unlucky. That's the price they pay.
Yeah, true. And what was I saying? Yep. Ibrahim Zadran, I think his batting, doesn't he look very languid to you? I mean, him batting
Mm.
together with Shubman Gill, I would want to pay to watch that combination together.
Yes, that's a good comment. That's a good point. He is good to watch. I wonder if anyone in another country will pick him for their domestic 4-day leagues, or is he just seen as a white ball player? I'd like to see him play county cricket or Sheffield Shield cricket or Ranji Trophy or
Yeah,
something.
he's got a very good technique. I mean, he could get into a county side
Yeah,
maybe. But
I hope one day someone gets him.
yeah, I would think that if an Afghanistani player goes to the county circuit, there might be a bit of ruckus about that in the media. Anyway, so
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, in the second innings with England batting,
Mm,
what did you make of how Butler batted? Butler and I don't know, so many players. Just Salt's wicket, maybe you could look at
mm,
Duckett's wicket. And Jamie Smith.
mm,
To me, Jamie Smith's
mm,
experiment. We'll look at the next game, of course, which went out
mm,
as terribly as that. But it just doesn't look like they looked very tied down, even though they want
mm,
to play as if they're completely
mm,
all guns blazing. They've got no
mm.
fears, but they didn't look like that in both of these games, all three of the games, in fact.
No, I mean, great points about. I mean, the thing with Salt is, I think he's more of a T20 player than a 50 over player, so it's not a surprise. With Smith, he is a good player in all three formats, but it's a bit. This typifies McCollum for me. He's a very casual coach. He's not a guy like, I don't know, say someone like Andy Flower or Langer who's intense. He's looking at all these stats, looking at matchups, looking at everything, going over it with a fine tooth comb. He just one day decided, oh, why not have Smith come in at three? And it's like, well, you didn't. Why didn't you let him do that against India, at least to prepare for it? No, he didn't. Just did it for the tournament itself. So you're making someone bat in a position they don't normally bat in an ICC tournament. It's very casual. Doesn't help Smith, and doesn't help the team. Butler's a bit sad. I'm interested to see if he kind of regain his form now he's left the captaincy. But it could be the fact he's almost 35 and has had injuries, and that catches up with everyone. So I wonder if he'll ever be as good as he was. And it might be an idea for him just to quit playing 50 over cricket and just play 20 over cricket internationally and domestically. But he'll know, more than me whether it's a long term thing or it's just the weight of the captaincy.
Yeah, we'll unpack England more after
Mm,
this on what's to follow for them in the ODI circuit.
mm,
In the next game, in fact, because the Pakistan Bangladesh game
mm.
got rained off and then the Afghanistan
Yeah,
Australia game. I mean, it's a shame that Afghanistan Australia couldn't be played. So we've
yeah,
got England
yeah.
South Africa. I mean, this game just looked like the a typical England last game of the series
Mm,
kind of game
yeah.
where they've
Mm,
lost everything and they just want to get on the flight as soon as possible.
mm. Yeah, this is a very good point from you. It's a very serious criticism. I know Lawrence Booth wrote that book about Bazball, and was it Tim Wigmore? And it was like a kind of love letter to Baz. This is the kind of thing I would have written to a girl I liked at sixth form. But it was he only did it after like two or three Test series against sides who didn't play that much Test cricket. And if he'd waited, he could have seen more of a kind of pattern develop. And there's a really obvious pattern. You look at the last Test in India at the start of the year, when it was a dead rubber. Um, the last Test against Sri Lanka in the summer. The last Test against Pakistan, even though it wasn't a dead rubber. The last Test against New Zealand. The last match in the T20 and 50 over series against India, and the last Test here. They're mentally on the plane home. It's really amazing that they're mentally have kind of given up, and there's no issue. It's like a kind of being in a classroom where the teacher's gone away, and this is like a temporary supply or substitute teacher coming in, and there's no issue. There's a lack of application and professionalism, I would say, and that marks McCollum's tenure as coach, and would be one of the big criticisms I would level at him.
Right. So we've got on to all of that, but moving
Hmm,
forward, obviously, like I
hmm,
forgot to mention Joe Root's knock in the Afghanistan game. Like that, he is the
hmm.
only one who looks like he's got a bit of hope in this side. Other than that, and
Yeah.
Rashid maybe him and Rashid.
Hmm,
Apart from that, you've got no one who I'd stick with. Maybe Duckett as well, but
no.
yeah. So lot of questions to ask for England. Who would be your next
Hmm.
captain?
Of the guys that you think will be guaranteed a place in the side, you'd probably say Brook. But Brook seems like a very entitled and arrogant person when I see him interviewed, and um, I, maybe captaincy will be the making of him, and it'll make him more mature and make him more serious, and also make him kind of apply himself more when he's playing spin. I think at the moment he thinks he's already kind of made it, and he's doing everyone a favour by playing even. So I think it probably could be. But I mean, what you could do is give it to Livingston as the worst player in the side. Is in the sense that at least his form won't be affected if you gave it to Livingston. But that's like a kind of negative reason for giving him the job. Um, Apart from that, I suppose you could bring in a specialist captain, someone like Tom Abel from Somerset. Probably his days are gone. And what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Brook has to be the one who will be captain, but I just think he might have a bit too much on his plate if he becomes captain,
Mm,
because he's got test
yeah,
duties, so many tests to play for England, and I think after Stokes he'd be the candidate who they'll be looking for as test captain as well. So an
yeah.
all format captain after 2027, or when Stokes, how long do you think Stokes will continue on as test captain? After, if he
I
doesn't
can't
win
see
the
him going
Ashes,
on.
if he doesn't win the Ashes, then maybe that's it, right?
I think either way, I think even if he wins it, I don't think his body can hold up. He doesn't score hundreds anymore, and he gets injured every time he bowls, like Mark Wood. So really, if you pick the side on merit, he probably wouldn't be in it. I don't think. He's in there as almost like a specialist captain. But if he's a specialist captain, he has to win series. I think either way, either he loses in Australia and he has to go, or he wins there, and that's a great way to bow out. I think he'll just have to play franchise cricket. But the way his body is and his age, after the Ashes, maybe he'll play another test or something that home summer. But I can't see him going much beyond early 2026.
So Brook has to be test captain then as well,
Although I
right?
suppose Ollie Pope is vice, and I don't know if that's
Ollie
if he's
Pope,
just a good.
does he get into the team on his own without captaincy?
He shouldn't do on merit again, but the setup like him, he's like a
Yeah.
likable guy. But if it was someone like Justin Langer picking the side, he wouldn't. So it just depends who the coach is. If it's McCollum, yeah, Pope will play like 200 Test matches and captain all of them, even if he loses them all. But for a serious coach, no, he wouldn't.
Okay. And who do you remove from this side? Because clearly England have to do a lot of rejigging with the England side. So for me, it'd have to be, first of all, I'd not
Mm,
pick Livingston anymore. You would have to
no.
remove Salt, I guess. Yeah, you have to remove
Mhm.
Salt, and you have to,
Yeah.
I Overton as well. Overton, like it goes without saying, and
Yeah.
add Dawson, and maybe at the
Mm.
top you have to add someone like Sam Hain. Maybe I think he's got a very good record in domestic cricket. Someone
Yeah,
there.
definitely. I think with
Vince maybe.
Livingston and Son, yeah,
Yeah,
Vince. I mean, if you wanted to bring him in as just a white ball specialist captain, you could because he's got an exceptional record there.
yeah,
But I think with Sultan Livingston, they're T20 specialists, and with Overton, he's just not good enough. He's not international standard. It's really weird that this is a guy at 30, 31 who hasn't been international standard. For some reason, McCollum sees him. He's a big guy who bowls with a heavy ball, and he loves it. He's just got this prejudice. A big guy who bowls bouncers and hits boundaries, and that's it for him.
yeah,
So it's weird that he even got selected at this age. If he was like 23, 24, I could understand McCollum picking him. But he's 30, 31 with injury problems. And it's just that he's big and bowls with a heavy ball. Great. But he's not international standard. You couldn't win a World Cup or a big series with him in the side. He's not that level.
yeah. So reflecting on Josh's career, because obviously he's got a very bad exit in the end. Josh's career
Mm,
as a captain. I mean,
mm,
we have to acknowledge that at least he won England the T20 World Cup. So
mm.
how do you sum up
Yeah.
his career as a captain?
I would say he was a bit lucky to inherit that Morgan side, but he did win the T20 World Cup, and you can't take that away from him. He won that fair and square. He also got to the semis of the next one. Now, I know that was with only beating one major nation, so that's probably an asterisk, but he did it. As regards 50 over wise, he's the worst 50 over captain probably ever. Um, that was the worst defence of a World Cup ever in 2023. There was some initial setbacks, and he just couldn't wrestle back the momentum. Now I know there's a lot of criticism of Mott, so they can both be criticised, but they looked shell shocked after the first couple of defeats, and they couldn't come back. And you have to give criticism there. In this trophy, they've been dreadful, and the India series before it they were dreadful. And we probably should have made this decision a bit earlier, probably after the last T20 World Cup, but they didn't. Rob Key's unable to make quick decisions. He's just not a competent man. He's not a serious man.
I
But I'm grateful for Butler's performances with the bat. He's been an exceptional white ball player, specifically a T20 player. You couldn't criticise him really for England.
Mott took one for England, didn't he? I mean, at that point, Mott. I don't think Mott was the one who should have gone. It was Butler at that point, but England just
Yeah,
wanted to keep Butler.
it was almost like they wanted to keep him happy and didn't want to risk him not wanting to play anymore. But Mott had won that T20 World Cup. I suppose it was that defence of the 2023 50 over World Cup which kind of spooked people. But the whole thing was when Key appointed Mott, he did it with Morgan in mind. He thought Morgan would still be there. And then Morgan retired a few months after. So if you know Morgan was going to retire, he would have appointed a different coach. He appointed Mott to complement Morgan. Morgan, as the guy who's the experienced captain, just wanted someone low key. If he knew Morgan was going to go, he would have appointed someone who was a bit more kind of at the forefront of things.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been saying that England centering around a coach rather than a captain in all formats has become not in Test. Maybe Stokes is like still a leader kind of figure, but in
Mm,
white ball cricket, as McCullum has stepped onto the role, it's more a coach-driven team, like football maybe. But
mm.
I don't
Yeah,
think cricket's
yeah.
meant to be played that way.
No, that's a very good point. I think that's true. I think they always had Morgan always had this kind of stats-driven kind of emphasis, didn't he? He'd have a man in the dressing room with a bloody laptop, looking at all the stats. That's why they wouldn't always bowl Moeen Ali, even though he was a decent bowler, because they'd done the stats, the ground dimensions, etc. But he was still a leader on the pitch. It seems that when he's gone, it seems like coach driven, and Butler is more like a football captain than a cricket one. Whereas in the old days, if you look at the great West Indies or Australia sides, it was the captain that did everything. The coach was very low key, hardly did anything. He was almost like a tour manager. So it has. I think your point there is a very good one about the transition to give a cricket coach and like more like a football coach.
Yeah, okay. So let's get on to India's game against New
Yeah,
Zealand now, which happened today. New Zealand
yeah,
won the toss, chose to bowl first. Looking at the pitch, it was a black soil pitch, so I thought it'll get better with lights, but it didn't. It actually started spinning more. On India's first innings, what did you make of India's innings and specifically Shreyas Iyer and Akshar Patel?
I thought I thought it was good. Like I think I read one of your tweets where you're saying that India kind of missed out on 50 odd runs because of the exceptional fielding of New Zealand. I think that was a very good point. Um, I wasn't sure whether 250 was enough actually, but in the end it was enough by about 50 runs really. So they did well to defend it. So I think probably it was par or just over par in the end. And India then just bowled really well. I wonder if India should have lost that on purpose, so they played South Africa in the semi and not Australia.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, a lot of people had been contemplating that back here as well. I mean, when
Yeah,
we were around the 44th over of the first innings, a lot of my
yeah,
friends were telling me it's great we don't have to face Australia anymore in the
yeah,
semi-final.
yeah.
But I guess I just think yeah, it's funny, but we'll see how it goes with Australia. It really depends because I would rather India bowl first against Australia. I don't want
Mm.
Travis Head in the second innings under light batting again. Yeah.
No, no, it's about numbers.
So breaking this innings down right now,
Yeah,
Shreyas Iyer's innings at that point felt like it wasn't as important as it turned out to be.
yeah,
So what did you
no.
make of him? I just think he's very underrated in ODIs. India's campaign in
Yeah.
2023 was heavily reliant on how Shreyas played because Virat Kohli was the anchor in that tournament, but Shreyas Iyer was the one
Mm.
who got us up to 350 and 400 every game.
Then he's a good player. I mean, India, it's not luck because they've cultivated these players. But when you have guys like Jaswell or Gill or Iyer, these are very high quality players. I think. Is very good. Like you say, it didn't seem like a match-winning knock at the time, but in the end, it turned out to be.
Yeah, and
So yeah, yeah.
yeah, and Henry's bowling because he took 5 for 42, but I mean it's completely different from how India played because India had four spinners, but New Zealand like completely dominated with the pace bowling, yeah, pace
Mm.
bowling.
Yeah. I suppose that's New Zealand's strength, isn't it? Henry is a good bowler.
Yep. And New Zealand's second innings. So, I mean, I put out a tweet that Kane Williamson's innings would lead to him being stoned if he were Indian. I mean, he scored 81 of 120. I mean, I suppose he held the innings together, but how do you assess it after the end of the game? Because at a strike rate of 68, I just don't think that it's acceptable. 120, he should have gotten a century at least, in my opinion, after playing 120 deliveries.
Do you think he always thought that there was a possibility he could accelerate near the end,
I
and
don't I
be
don't
a
think
bit
that that'd be
careful?
possible. I
Mm,
actually thought right that Kale dropped Kane Williamson
mm,
twice. I thought that if
mm,
Kale dropped it was better because I wouldn't like the
mm,
prospect of Phillips and Bracewell batting together than
mm,
Kane Williamson because New Zealand needed what 7 runs and over
yeah,
after the 37th over and they could have
yes,
gotten that in my opinion. Kane Williamson
yeah,
played a bit too slow.
yeah. No, that's that's not ridiculous. I suppose he just thought he could anchor the innings, and he just kind of misjudged it. I suppose in the end,
Yeah, he
but
miscalculated it. I mean,
or maybe he just wanted to play South Africa in the semi.
yeah, that is one way to go. I
He wanted to
mean,
play
that
Australia.
is one way
I
to
mean,
go.
New Zealand always seem to lose to Australia. South Africa have a reputation for choking in the semis, so it's probably better for New Zealand that they get South Africa.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it was an inspired selection of Varun Chakravarti in the squad as well as in this
Mm,
game because no one,
mm,
India just went in with one frontline pacer, like England goes in with
mm.
one frontline spinner, and
Yeah.
it turned out well for India in the end. So, what did you make of Varun Chakravarti's bowling? Like, he
Yeah,
looks unhittable at times.
yeah, and he came in the white ball series against England, didn't he? And he looked brilliant. But you thought, well, that's because England just can't really play spin on spinny conditions. But he
Yeah.
did well again today, and yeah, very inspired selection. And do you think the pitch will be similar in the semi? And if so, he'll be a real handful.
Yeah, I think it'll be a bit drier as well. It might get even slower
Yeah.
for the semis. It might quicken up for the final, but they'll probably use the same strip for the next game.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that he should do well.
Yeah, and what did you make of the other bowlers out there? I mean, I thought that Akshar Patel's bowling 10 overs for 32 runs, that played a huge role as well because
Mm.
everyone else went for 4 or 5 runs and over, and him going at three, like, really strangled them. I think the best way to put this game would be India's spinners put a chokehold on New Zealand.
Yeah, they were like a big python choking the life out of New Zealand there. And it was just because when it was like what was it 90 or 100 for two, something like that, you thought, well, New Zealand can still get this, but it just the wrong way it kept getting going up and up, didn't it? And in the end, it was just unreachable. But there was a one stage where I thought it was possible for New Zealand. Axe is a very kind of what would you call him, like an unsung hero. He's very reliable. He's not
You
glamorous, but
you would have
he'll
nightmares
always do a
about
job.
you would have nightmares about him after the 2021 series, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Straight
yeah, I
balls,
do.
took 30 wickets with straight balls. I mean, that was
Yeah,
something. That was something.
that was.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of people have been talking about the fact that both Australia and South Africa had to travel to Dubai, and now South Africa will have to travel to Lahore because of the scheduling. And people have been complaining a lot that India has got a lot of advantage, and especially, I mean, Nasser Hussain and Michael Atherton, they've said in a podcast that India has got a very clear advantage playing in Dubai, 4 games, 6 games in 6 or 5 games. Yeah, 5 games in a row if they make it to the final, and they've got a very big advantage over the other teams, and the other teams are having to travel so much, so it's unfair to them. I partially agree with that, but I wouldn't blame the players as much because the players do not have as much power over that. It's just politics at the end of the
No,
day.
no, it's because of the position we're left in, where India can't play in Pakistan, and they've got no choice. It's not. it, and also Dubai isn't India's home, is it either? So it's not like they're playing all these games in Bangalore or Chennai or something. It's still a
India's
neutral country.
India's a very different place to play ODI cricket. I mean,
No,
it gets very quick. 250 cannot be defended in India in normal
no,
games.
no. So I think with Atherton and Hussain, they are kind of quite insightful, and they're not anti-India or anything.
Yeah, they are making a
But
fair
I
point.
don't,
I
yeah.
dismiss all of those claims where they're said to be, oh, again, English people against India. That is like
Mm,
bullshit. They want to create another narrative in there. But I just think that it's partially true, but also there's a bit of
mm.
nuance in there.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately unavoidable given the fact that India can't play in Pakistan. So there's it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it's turned out. It's not, but I'd still say it isn't home advantage. Like if they were playing in Bangalore or Chennai or something. So,
Okay. So let's look forward to India versus Australia, the first semi-final. It's in Dubai, and I think Australia has got two more players injured. So I was just looking at a tweet right now. I have to get it up again. Yeah. Nathan Lyon, Matt Kuhneman, and a few more players have been added to Australia's squad, I think. I was seeing a
interesting.
tweet. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that I saw that, and I think that'll be a bit interesting because Australia are further
Mm.
depleted then.
Who got injured? Because I didn't know anyone who got injured.
I was just seeing a tweet like 15 minutes ago from
Mm.
a reputed
Yeah.
Australian
Oh,
journalist. So,
oh wow.
yeah.
So long as it's not their batters, because they've gone in with a second string bowling attack anyway,
Yeah, no
and that's kind
batsmen,
of
only bowlers, I think.
yeah, that's okay then. I think, and that I mean, this game I think I would prefer this as the final because these are the best two teams. So it's a shame it's a semi, not the final. Um, I think the players India have a better side because Australia have got are depleted with the bowling attack. No Hazelwood, Cummings, or Stark. But you can't write off Australia.
I
They
mean,
just win ICC trophies for fun.
yeah, and Kuhneman and Nathan Lyon have been brought back in supposedly. So, I
Mm.
mean, Nathan Lyon on spinning pitches, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not bad.
not bad at all. No, Nathan Lyon's a high quality spinner. What's he got over 500 Test wickets as well?
Yeah,
Yeah,
five,
you couldn't.
somewhere around that.
He's got a similar amount to Ashwin, hasn't he? I wouldn't rule Australia out. I think India are the best side though, so I think they'll probably win. But I would not be shocked if Australia won it. And I think the winner of this semi will definitely win the whole thing.
Yeah, Australia's India's bogeyman, right? So you never really
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
We've got trauma from 2023. Everyone is like on the edge of their seats with this game. Just seeing the sight of Travis Head, it'll be interesting how this game goes. But yeah, definitely wouldn't rule out Australia. It all depends for me. If India bats first, I think it's 60-40 to Australia, and
Mm,
if Australia bats first, then it's 60-40 to India. How about you?
mm. I'm going to say just overall 53-47 to India.
Okay. That is
Yeah,
pretty
just
neutral. And the next
yeah.
game is actually going to be a lot more competitive, in my opinion.
Mm,
South Africa, New
yeah.
Zealand in Lahore, not much spin, just comes onto the bat really good. Both have really good batting lineups. And what do you make of that game? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm going to go for New Zealand because probably 90 odd percent of the time South Africa just choke in semis. That's like that. You talked about Australia being India's bogeyman. Semis are like South Africa's bogeyman.
Yeah,
I just it's like a mental thing really, and the two sides are kind of even. But given South Africa's record in the semi-finals, they'll probably lose it. What about you?
I'm going for South Africa.
Oh,
Yeah, I
so
feel
this time
it's
they'll take in the final.
yeah, I feel it's going to be like 2024, and there is a chance
Okay.
that South Africa might like take revenge from India. They might even win two tournaments in this year. Who knows? I mean, it's a complete
Wow.
possibility, right?
It is. Yeah, I suppose it is possible. Anything's possible. I'll still
Uh,
back the winner of India Australia to win the whole thing, though.
okay, so I think that's all we've got to cover right now. We'll come back next Sunday at this very time, hopefully with Rohit Sharma lifting the trophy, or maybe Tembaba Bhuma. We never really know, do we? So, yeah, see you then. And Adam's in Spain, so I hope you all can wish him. a good holidays in there. So yeah.
Oh, it's just-
Okay. Bye. Next, we'll see you next week.